Rock and roll Chicago, rock and roll Chicago, my hometown. Well, I was born in the city, gonna rock the city, Chicago. Chicago rock and rollers are the best here around.
Hey, this is Paul Martin
And Ray the Roadie.
for the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm
I'm making fun of you now because you made fun of me a few weeks ago. So.
Well, that's fine. I can take it. I'm sitting here listening to little Sister Christian.
Sister Christian.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Night Ranger.
Night Ranger. That's right.
We spoke with Joel Hoekstra, who plays guitar in Night Ranger.
Yeah. And I just, I don't know if I mentioned it to you before, but I just, somebody messaged us on our Facebook group that there's a Joel Hoekstra bobblehead out.
Really?
Yeah. I think you've made the bigs when you got your own bobblehead.
I think we just got something too. So Joel Hoekstra's got a new song or an album or something out too.
Yeah, he's been working. He's been recording a lot of stuff during this pandemic time.
Well, we're not talking today with Joel Hoekstra.
No, we spoke to him before.
We spoke to him before, but we do have a Christian theme. We're talking with Ray Vanda, who was in the band Christian Friday. Anybody remember the band Christian Friday? And you know
I do.
what other, and do you?
I do.
And you know what other band he was in too, which I didn't realize?
I know which band it is.
It's Falcon Eddy.
That's right.
Wow. I mean, I didn't realize that. But so we talked to Ray Vanda. He's got a recording studio now. He's been recording a lot of different groups, and he's been keeping pretty busy even through the pandemic.
He said he's quite busy during the pandemic, and because most people aren't working,
Right.
but he's been really busy recording a lot of different groups.
So that's very cool. So let's find out what Ray had to say.
And then afterwards, check out episode 33, which was Joel Hoekstra.
Okay, I will.
Check it out.
Let's go.
Let's talk to Ray. Not me, the other one.
Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're talking with guitarist, songwriter, producer, and engineer, formerly of the band Christian Friday, Ray Vanda. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing
Ray.
wonderful. You guys are doing as good, I hope.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
So I know now you've got a recording studio, but let's go back and talk about Christian Friday a little bit and
Sure.
tell us your thoughts. How long did the band last, and who was in the band or whatever?
4 years with the band as when I was in the band. Now, they did continue on after I quit the band. I got another guitar player and kind of kept going. But at the time that we had it together, we were doing basically all original material. And, back in them days, if you didn't do Freebird and, you weren't gigging on the South Side. So mainly a lot of our gigs were North Side because they kind of liked the original stuff. But, it was about a 4-year span. And what was really cool is that we had the two, Jimmy and Billy Brown, the two twin lead singers. And then we had a violin player, Jeff Holmes, which he was awesome. And then Jimmy Danovich on bass. And then we had Don Polis on drums. So it was kind of a unique thing, and it was different, kind of esoteric rock. Wasn't mainstream, which is kind of the mistake we might have made at that time. We weren't shooting for mainstream stuff, but we stayed pretty busy. It was a lot of fun. It was a good experience.
Now you did a lot of the songwriting, I understand, right?
Yeah. Me and actually Billy, one of the singers, we did the majority of the songwriting. But like I said, it was a fun experience. And then after the band kind of broke up, well, what happened? Actually, first the violin player actually said he was moving to Oregon. That's kind of what blew the band apart. And then after that, I kind of just said, I had enough. I want to move on to something different. And so that's kind of how things disbanded, even though they did stay together for another couple of years and they started doing a lot more copy, to get the club gigs. A lot of the clubs
Sure.
didn't want all original material.
Sure.
So, at that point in time, they were like, well, if we want to keep rolling, let's start doing the copy. And that's kind of what they were doing. And then I think about 2 years later, the band disbanded. Yeah.
Well, I've said many times on this show that back in those days, a lot of clubs wanted, at least the clientele wanted you to play original music. It's not that way, definitely not that way anymore.
Yeah, well, even at that time, and there again, like I said, we weren't playing, our original stuff wasn't like Foreigner or something, or Boston, something that was really mainstream. It was esoteric rock. It was different.
'cause I'm busy trying some other time. So I got on my duds and I went stepping out to the local disco.
And there again, like a lot of clubs on the South Side, it seemed to me anyway, they wanted more copy than anything. It seems like the North Side was like two different worlds in the music business back in them days. You know, the North Side, they loved the original material. We used to play. I'm trying to remember the name of the club. We played there all the time. The North Side, and we had a big following. I mean, they just, when we played, we'd book a Friday and a Saturday, and we'd have the place packed both nights. You know, so we kind of created the following up there. But the South Side, it wasn't the same. It was a little different on the South Side. And I think even today, I think the North Side is more kind of, what do you want to say, liberal about the music business, than the South Side is. Because in my band after that, Falcon Eddy, we did a combination of both. We did original material, and then, of course, we did a lot of copy.
Oh, I didn't know you played in Falcon.
That kept us working quite a bit.
You played in Falcon Eddy as well, huh?
Yeah, that was actually my next band after Christian Friday. Started out, we went through different personnel changes in a couple of years, like every band usually does. And then we finally got a pretty good core. And, we were together, I want to say about 8 years. And, we played all over. We were real busy. We were playing 4 or 5 nights a week. So that was a lot of fun.
Sure.
And again, like I said, we split it up. We did a lot of the Zeppelin and Travers and, a lot of the rock stuff. And then we threw in our originals in between on the sets. And that seemed to work out real well for us.
Now, what would you say Falcon Eddy's type of music was? I mean, you said you did original stuff with them as well, right?
Yeah, and the original stuff that we were doing was definitely rock, kind of heavy rock. I kind of put it in the category like maybe Rush, kind of Rushish, nice changes, it wasn't just a 3-chord rock and roll thing, and people really dug it. I mean, we had a really, really good following. There again after 8 years, things kind of disbanded, and that was it. And then I got into the recording, and of course I've been in recording all the years anyway. So I had a studio in my house, and then I brought it into my building, and that's what I've been doing for the last 15, 20 years. Is basically been recording, which I really love because I still get to play, and then I work with other bands, so it's a lot of fun.
Did you guys record anything with Christian Friday or Falcon Eddy?
As a matter of fact, Christian Friday, we did a 45. Disco Rag and Promising Glance were the 2 songs. And I still got the 45. That was about the only recording we did. Falcon Eddy, we did start doing some recording down at Acme Studios. I don't know if you remember that studio. They're gone now. Matter of fact, the engineer guy, he passed away a few years back. But
where was
we did some recording there. And but then, like I said, I started getting into that end of the business. And at the time, I really wasn't doing the recording full time. We still had the band going. Yeah, and like I said, at that time, with the band, I still was playing 4 or 5 nights a week, so I didn't have a lot of time to dedicate to my recording end of it. And then after the band kind of disbanded, that's kind of what I did full time. Because you guys know, I mean, it's a tough road to hold in this business. I mean, when you're supporting a family,
right.
You got to make money.
Oh, yeah.
And, for the 4 or 5 nights a week we were, playing, I mean, we were making money, don't get me wrong, but it still wasn't, enough to support the family, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So everybody had full-time gigs, which most musicians I know do. There's a few that don't, but most do, And then after that broke up, then I had more time to dedicate to this end of the business. And, back then I was taped, then I started going to digital, and now we're full-blown digital, obviously. And, we work in Pro Tools, and, I've had a lot of fun back here.
I was going to ask
a lot of good artists coming in. I've done a lot of work with, I did Shirley King's last album that was just released on Cleopatra Records. I don't know how well it's doing, but we did that here. And let's see, we did the Spaniels. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They're an old bebop type, all a cappella group, but really, really good vocals. Had a lot of fun working with them. And so, it's like I said, I've been busy 4 or 5 nights a week now. That this is what I'm doing now. And I'm surprised with the pandemic that I'm getting this much work. I thought, for sure, but everybody wears the masks, social distancing. Nobody comes into control, one person at a time, and they got to come in with a mask. And we keep everybody that's not actually recording out into, the lobby area. And they just sit out there and they kind of wait, to do their thing.
Well, since they can't perform live anywhere, I think the recording end is that, that's what they're doing. Everybody wants to.
That's exactly right. That's what they're doing. So they got the time now. So they figure, let's knock it out.
Right.
So, okay. God bless that. I'm working because a lot of people with this pandemic aren't working right now at all, making any money.
Right.
So thank God that, I did. But, I've been doing it long enough now where I've established a pretty good clientele. A lot of my guys have been coming to me for years. So that's a good thing.
And then, the name of your studio is?
On Track Studio. On Track Recording Studio, yeah.
On Track Studio.
Yeah.
And anybody can find you on the web, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I have a Facebook page, too, for On Track Studio, too. So, and I don't do a lot of advertising. Like I said, I stay busy enough, So, I can't complain. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what kind of system you use, but you said you're using Pro Tools, right?
Yeah. I'm up to date with the latest version of Pro Tools, so.
Right.
I pay for the updates every year, even though they're going up and up with their price every year, but I still, I want to keep up with what's happening. But, the world's really evolved with it when it comes to the studio end of it. I mean, these plugins now are getting really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And because I sold most of my outboard gear. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine. I don't know if you guys know Don Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Don. He comes in here and records drums because he's got a studio, too, but it's pretty small. And he doesn't have a kit, so he brings the clients over here to record, and then he goes back and mixes. But he's got all this beautiful, beautiful vintage equipment back in the day.
His place is up in the Palatine or something, isn't it?
No. Now he's right off of Harlem and Archer over in Summit.
Oh, okay.
He's in an office. No, he's right in Summit, and he's in an office building. It's kind of weird because when I first went over there to check out his studio, I was like, wow, man, where's it at? I go into this, but it looks like an office. Actually, it looks like a doctor's office building, And I go in there and I'm walking around. I don't see any signs. I'm like, where the hell's this guy at? So I end up going up to the second floor. And sure enough, all the way at the end of the hall, there he is. Your beautiful stuff, And I said to him, I go, Don, are you using any of this shit anymore? He said, well, not a lot of it. I said, well, good luck trying to get rid of it. I mean, like I said, nothing against the vintage stuff that I ended up selling. I kept all my, good mic crap. I sold it. And I'm glad I did when I did. I got something for it anyway, because a lot of these guys, like Andrew Sheps, Chris Lloyd Alge, these guys got Grammys up the ass and they're all mixing in the box now. They're not really using much outboard gear at all. So this has evolved quite a bit, this recording business.
Oh, yeah.
So. But it's a lot of fun for me. I'm glad I did what I did, and I'm where I'm at now. Because like I said, you guys, music's a passion.
Sure.
You play it because you want to play it, and it comes from the heart.
Right.
And I finally got somewhere where I can actually make a decent buck here, not have to stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? That's a good part.
Yeah.
Staying out of the bars with all the drunks screaming Freebird, I'm done with all that crap. So it actually works out pretty nice for me. So I'm pretty happy with it.
So did you ever do any live engineering?
Yeah, I did. Well, actually not a lot, but I've done a couple of gigs. I did a gig for a band at a huge church, and they had a Midas, I think it was a Midas 32 board. Which is they're nice. They're really nice. Yeah. And they're not really real pricey either. But yeah, I worked on that and I did a mix for them, actually, a live recording. Came out really good too. But not really, I don't do a lot of it. I've had people asking me, but there again, man, I'm a homebody now. You know what I mean? I like my studio. I don't really, like to get out, and I'm way, way past the club scene. My son, he plays, and I go out and see his band occasionally. Well, that was before this pandemic hit, And me and my wife would go in the bar and they'd be up there playing. And I'd look around and I'd go, yeah. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the younger faces, but everything else still seems the same.
Right. There's not that many 4 o'clock bars though left either.
No, there isn't. You're absolutely right. And
Well, we used
hopefully
to do
by
it.
the end of the summer, when we get past this, and they start opening back up, it'll be great for everybody. Because I know a lot of guys, like I said, they're just chopping the bits to get out there and play.
Yep.
Well, Ray and I have talked. We've said that probably festivals are going to be the first thing to really happen because it'll be outdoors and people can social distance and you got a breeze going and everything. And because clubs are going to be a little bit more enclosed and unless the clubs do outdoor things,
Right. No, and you're absolutely right. Which is good, and that's there's more money in that anyway doing the festivals than there is doing the bar scene.
Right.
So that's a bonus all the way around.
Now, what does your son play?
Pardon me?
What does your son
He plays drums. He plays drums. My daughter's a singer. She's actually out in LA. She's been out there about 6 years now. I mean, look her up if just look up Vanda, and you'll see all the stuff she's doing. But she's doing real good. She's a singer, songwriter, and she's been, like I said, she moved out there, and of course everybody wanted to go out for the California Dream.
Sure.
And actually, that's really not the place anymore. But it seems like Nashville and Atlanta.
Yep.
Are kind of where it's at musically, and I've been trying to talk her into moving there, but she loves it out there. I can't blame her. The weather's beautiful.
Or Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas is another hot spot.
Yeah,
absolutely. She said that she's eventually going to do it, but she's got a lot of connections out there. She just did a thing with, she got to deal with Disney. They got a new movie coming out, and she's doing some of the backup vocals for it, which is kind of cool. So she's doing a lot of studio work for other people out there too, besides her own stuff. But she's got quite a few songs, and she's a good songwriter too. But she's like Maine. She's smart enough. Whereas went back in the day when we were doing the originals, we were just doing them because we liked them, not what was happening. So when you look at this business and the marketing end of it, you really need to, do what's happening. And she's got that down. I mean, she's right there, right in the pocket, with what's happening out there. So hopefully she'll get a good deal someday there. But she's doing all right. And like I said, then my son, he's the drummer. And then my other son, he's a singer, but he's kind of retired now, They're married with children, and he's pushing 50 now. He's 51. So, he's like, I'm done.
What's your son's, who's the drummer? What's his band? What's the name of his band?
Well, actually, right now, he's not really working with anybody since the pandemic deal, and everybody kind of couldn't play anymore. And you know how that goes.
Right.
They're not gigging, so they don't want to get together and rehearse. But he's been coming in here working on some original stuff of his. In fact, he was here last week. And they're kind of a funk fusion type. It's kind of cool. And he's got some good players, and he's an excellent drummer. And the bass player and the keyboard player, man, I mean, they were solid right in the pocket. It was a lot of fun. And we're still not done with their stuff yet. In fact, they're going to come in this weekend. So, but yeah, like I said, they're just doing the studio stuff right now because they don't have enough, enough work out there to go out and gig. And, the guys in the band, well, they don't want to rehearse. They just want to make money.
Right.
Especially the horn players, there. Right. They don't want to rehearse anything. They just want to make money. Just send me the track. I'll learn it, and I'll see you at the gig.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the way of the world, too, now, is people doing files at home and sending the files,
I do it all the time. Yeah. Absolutely right, man. And it's very cool that we can do that now.
Yeah. Right.
Very cool.
And it sounds like they're in the same room and everything else,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing how far we've come with this business.
No, yeah. You could be in a different state. All the way. You could be in California. You record your part, send it over, mix it together.
Absolutely. In fact, I got some clients that like my daughter's voice, and that's what we do. I'll just send them an MP3 of the rough mix. She goes, she records it, and then she sends me it back. Boom. And it's there.
Hey, Ray, what are you doing?
I'm getting my bluegrass on. I'm playing my banjo, except there seems to be something wrong with the strings.
Well, Ray, GHS makes strings for all types of instruments: electric and acoustic guitar, bass guitar, mandolin, ukulele, and even banjo.
Then I'm getting new GHS strings and my banjo will sound better.
I don't think it's the strings, Ray. GHS are easy to play with rich, full balanced tone, available in many different gauges.
Great for all musical styles, so if you play
with the best. Play GHS strings. So did any of the guys from Christian Friday follow you to Falcon Eddy?
No, totally different crew.
Was
As a
it?
matter of fact, Don Polis, the drummer, he lives out in L.A. now. He's been out there, I'll bet you 30 years, maybe even a little longer. And he actually sets up studios out there because he used to work for a place on the north side, a music store. I can't remember the name of it now. And he was selling pro equipment out of there on the north side here. And then he moved to L.A. and he got hooked up with, another outfit where they go in and they set studios up with equipment and gear. And so he's been doing that for a long time. Jeff Holmes, who was the violin player, he moved to Oregon and nobody ever heard from him again. And I still talk to Billy and Jimmy, the two twins. I still talk to them guys. And then Billy, he's out in Arizona now. He's remarried, living out there. And Jimmy, he's still over here in Oak Lawn. He's remarried now too. But yeah, and Jimmy Danovich, I haven't seen him in 20 years. Like I said, the Browns are the ones that I really talk to. And every once in a while, Don will call me, hey, how you doing? And because when I was actually setting up my new studio, he gave me a lot of tips, things to do, things not to do, and things to buy, things that work, things that don't. So he was quite a big help. But yeah, I mean, I don't really, like I said, it's as time moves on, man, I see less and less,
Yeah.
So, but thank God for Facebook because I really enjoy Facebook. I do. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I've ran into a lot of people that I grew up with through Facebook that, I would have never hooked up with.
Right.
And a lot of my musician friends on Facebook. So I like it. It's very cool.
Right. It keeps you in contact with some
It
people.
does. It absolutely does.
Well, that's how I actually found you originally, because I found your wife, who I went to grade school with, So.
Oh, okay.
So.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
How's she doing? Tell her you said hello, will you?
I sure will. She's doing good. We own a business here. Obviously, I have the studio, and that's kind of where I sit. And then she runs the business up front, which is video transfer. We do all kinds of video transfer work. And that's a big part of the business, too. Old analog tape, old film, people are converting over to digital. And that really skyrocketed for us. I mean, it's and that's super busy right now, too. So that's good.
Really? VHS tapes to flash drives and whatever else,
Yeah. DVD or flash drive or, camcorder tape or even old film. We go back, we do 16 millimeter film.
Oh, wow.
Even so, yeah, we do it all. And plus I kept some of my old analog tape machines, and I'm glad I did because I get a lot of clients that want the stuff transferred off the old tape, up to, something on a CD or on a flash drive, So I'm glad I did keep that stuff. The only time I fire it up, though, is when somebody wants something done, but, I still got it. So that's kind of cool.
Right. So now who is in Falcon Eddy with you?
Well, actually, my wife's brother, my brother-in-law, Danny, he was the lead singer of the band.
Oh,
Mark Kovac was on bass. We had Paul Hazard on drums. And then we had a couple of different keyboard players on and off. But that was basically the nucleus of the band. So really, we were kind of like a three-piece, I'd say. Once in a while, we'd slip a keyboard player in, and he'd last about 3. You know how keyboard players were. I don't know if they've changed over the years, but how they were too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were always, all the good ones were always, they were in demand. So if they had a really good keyboard player, they were hard to come by.
Right, exactly. They're already playing with somebody or something, right?
Exactly. So basically, it was a 3-piece, really, well, with the singer 4-piece, I guess you could say. But, totally different than Christian Friday. Total different. Everything was totally different. It was more rock. And I like the rock. I've been a rocker my whole life. So,
right.
The old, we used to do a lot of Zeppelin, like I said, and, things like, in fact, I still love playing that stuff, but I don't really play as often as I'd like anymore. It's funny because, being in this end of the business, I got my guitars hanging on the wall. I go over every once in a while, dust them off. You know what I mean? Maybe pick them up every once in a while and play, or if I get a session in there and they're looking for somebody to overdub a guitar track, I might go in and overdub something for them, But I don't play as much as I used to. I sold a lot of my guitars, too, over the years.
Yeah, well, we've said, too, that a lot of bands, back in the day, there were more bands. When you had a band, you just to go back to the keyboard thing, if you had a good keyboard player, you kept them, But a lot of bands stayed together, where now guys are jobbing out. Guys are going job themselves out and play with this band, play with that band, play with a bunch of different bands,
Absolutely.
And
there's no doubt about it. Ron Gamble, a friend of mine that I've actually played with since he got out of NAM, on and off, never actually had a band with him, but he's another guy. He plays with 4 or 5 bands. Well, he was until the pandemic hit. But yeah, I mean, the guy always had his coat and hat on, ready to go for another gig. Who you playing with tonight, Ron? Oh, I'm playing with Rustic Nails or whatever, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's another guy. Like I said, he's always, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no. And then with June doing a lot of copy material, obviously, you know, if the band's playing the same kind of stuff, you know, I mean, you know, the song, you just fit right in, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it was never that way back in the day. It was like you had your band and your group of guys and you didn't stray from that group, at least in my opinion, you know.
Right, for sure.
And each group was enemies. Our group is better than yours.
yeah, I can remember them days too. It was always competition, you know, but hey, there's nothing wrong with competition.
Right.
You know, and I run into a lot of guys, like I said, you know, like friend of mine, Tony Wilson. You remember Landslide?
Sure.
That band, that was his old band, and I've known him for 40 years, you know, and he comes in the studio. And we reminisce. We always laugh about shit like, you know, we're talking about the old days, you know. And because we always played, Harlow's was kind of like a regular place for us to play.
Sure, good old Harlow's.
Once a month we were playing there, you know.
Right.
Same with Landslide. You know, there was a few clubs that, you know, you'd always play, you know.
Right.
So.
Right, I played Harlow's many a time myself. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Absolutely. It was a fun club.
Oh, yeah.
You know. I mean, for the South Side at that time, it was probably one of the better clubs to be playing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if the walls in that place could talk, huh?
Oh, boy, we'd all be in trouble. That's for sure.
But I noticed some stuff that I did find on Facebook or on the web that you guys used to play Monopoly and a couple other places and up north, a lot of places up north, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, it was like, you know, it was like 2 different worlds to me when it was in the music end of it, you know. Totally different type of crowds up north than there were on the South Side.
Right.
I kind of dug the North Side, actually, because they were real open to, you know, especially new stuff. You know, they loved the original stuff.
Right.
But South Side, they just want to hear Freebird. You know, they don't give a shit. You know, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm a true South Sider myself, but I still like to hear some original stuff from time to time. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, there again, with technology in today's world, a lot of these people are doing their own things. You know, they got a studio in their own house, in their bedroom.
Right.
And a lot of them are using virtual instruments now, so you really don't need to have the acoustically perfectly, you know, the room. You know, those days are kind of over with a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
And especially if they're working with virtual instruments, because, you know, they're pretty much, they sound great right out of the box.
Right.
So a lot of guys are doing stuff at home, even though I'm old school. I like real musicians, and my studio is set up for real musicians.
Right.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of virtual stuff. You know, I mean, we might use some virtual instruments to pad a chorus or something like that, but normally, you know, I stay away from it. I like real drummers.
Well, yeah. I as a matter of fact, I did live sound engineering for many years, and I had bands come in with tracks, you know, and that was another thing that used to bug me, you know. But I get it, but
yeah,
but
well, you know, there again, like I said, music is musical. Yeah, just like, you know, if you throw on a certain compressor that just has a nice, beautiful saturation compared to this, and it just is musical sounding. And it's the same thing when you're playing music. You know, if you take something and, you know, it's metronome, I mean, it's right out about it. It's mechanical. It's no more musical. It's mechanical.
Right.
That's how I kind of look at it. There's nothing wrong with flowing a little bit in the song.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
I mean, you can get the BPM of a song. And a lot of these guys come in. I go, hey, you want to play to a click track? What are you doing? You're going to be doing a lot of, you know, virtual instruments and stuff. It might be a good idea. And a lot of them are like, no, they don't even want the click track, you know.
Right.
So we'll kind of let them, you know, we'll run through the song. I'll kind of get a good idea where that BPM is sitting anyway. And, but I won't use a click. And, you know, decent drummers usually have decent clocks. And if they get to a chorus or something and they kind of rush a little bit, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It adds to the musicalness of the song.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely right.
Talking about the, you know, all the stuff from the past and stuff. An odd thing happened to me the other day. I was at the supermarket grocery shopping, and I suddenly realized I'm singing along to the music that's playing, and it's Deep Purple, Highway Star. I'm like, oh, we've made the supermarket tracks.
Yeah, I love it though. I love it, man.
Yeah.
That was a great band. You know, I said, we're all older, so we all like that. We grew up with that stuff.
Right.
Well, you see commercials on television now are all using stuff from the 60s and the old Motown stuff and
they are
70s music. It's all in every commercial, and for Walmart or Geico.
That's what music was music, though. I mean, today, like a lot of these things that I listen to, I don't listen to the radio a lot either, by the way, guys. But when I put on some of this crap, I'm like, right off the get-go. As soon as they start, they're not even, 8 measures into the song. And I'm like, you know what? This is virtual instrument.
Yeah.
There's no pickup chords. A lot of these songs today, they don't have bridges anymore in them. Like the old stuff, the 60s and 70s, that made the songs.
Right.
Those little changes within the song. A lot of this stuff is just so boring. I'm like, really? I'm waiting for a good hook line, and I don't even hear that a lot of times anymore.
Right. Right.
So it's a shame, but I believe what goes around will come around. And I always tease everybody, back in the day, that's when music was music. And my daughter get mad at me when she'd see me post something like that on Facebook. What do you mean, Dad? I go, you'll learn someday. But I think things will swing around again. I used to do a lot of rap years ago in here, maybe 10 years. And I don't do much anymore, thank God. Real big fan of rap myself.
Right.
But they're little, their Logic or their Pro Tools at home, and they download their beats. So all they're doing is rapping to a beat. They don't need me.
Right.
And that works out fine for me because, like I said, that wasn't anything I really enjoyed doing. But for a while I did a lot of it. And thank God that it's kind of phased away.
I don't know if you know Jeff Loof of Star Trek. He used to work. He had Star Trek studio.
Jeff, was he over on Cicero over there in Midlothian?
Yes. Well,
I never met him, but I knew of the studio.
Crestwood. It was actually Crestwood, right?
Oh, Crestwood. You're right, Crestwood. Okay, yeah, I do remember the studio, but I never met him.
Oh, okay. Well, Jeff plays in my band with me, and we do all our recording through Jeff. He's no longer there. He's mostly got it in his house now, but still he uses Pro Tools and stuff. But he was doing a lot of rap for a long time, and that's what made me think.
Yeah, pretty much. I think anybody that's been in this end of the business for as long as we have or I have, and they've done it for sure, no doubt. But thank God, like I said, it's faded to the wayside. Thank God for technology. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's worse too when you get some young kids in there. And I love the young kids, I mean, they're learning. And, when you get these guys in here and they're like, okay. And I always tell them, I go, you guys don't know how good you got it today compared to back in the day when we used to record in the 70s, early 80s, and it was all tape.
Yeah.
When you screwed up, well, you just did a retake.
Right.
Today, don't worry about it. We'll copy and paste something over here and over here. We'll make it work.
Fly it in.
They don't understand that. They don't get that.
Right.
They don't get that end of it.
Well, I tell you, it took me a while. It took me a while to realize that you had to that you were able to fly stuff in, and you didn't have to sing this part 15 times. You sing it once in a you used to have to malt it a couple of times, and the good old
cool
days.
Today, man. It really is, man.
Yeah.
And it saves the clients a lot of time too.
Yeah.
Like keys, drums, amps, we got everything they need. And that makes it easy. Corner, one guy's a musician and the other guy's broke. Well, there's a lot of meaning to that, if you know what I'm saying,
Right.
So you try to make it affordable for them too.
Sure. Sure.
Give them a good product at a good price. So,
do you have any MP3s of any of the Christian Friday music or the Falcon Eddy?
You know what? I do. I don't have them handy right now to play, but I do have them. I could send them over to you too if you want to listen to some of that. You'd really get a kick out of the Christian Friday stuff because it was unique. I'll dig through the archives here and I'll find some stuff I can send over to you.
Tell us once again where people can find you at.
Well, they can. I've got a Facebook page for my studio too. It's On Track Studio on Facebook, and then I got a website too. It's www.ontrackstudio.net.
Okay.
So they can find me in either of those two places.
All right. Very good.
Very well. Well, thanks for joining us today, Ray. It's
No, I'm
been
glad.
quite
I'm
insightful.
glad and good. You guys are doing great. I'm glad to see it, man. It's awesome. I'm glad you're doing this because it's a lot of fun. Cool thing.
A lot of fun getting some of the backstories and stuff of some of the bands and musicians and stuff that we talk with, you know.
Absolutely. It's very cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to promote it every Tuesday, right?
Every Tuesday, a new one comes out.
Yep.
Every Tuesday. Good. I'm going to promote that too. I'll promote it on my Facebook and on my On Track page.
Very
Awesome.
good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We will talk to you soon and stay healthy.
All right, you too.
Wear your masks when you're outside, remember.
Yeah,
That's right.
Thanks.
Get your vaccine
Absolutely.
if you can.
Okay, guys.
All righty. Take care,
We'll
Rick.
talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All righty.
Yes,
Thanks.
absolutely.
So that was Ray Vanda. Pretty interesting fella.
Yes, he was. He's been doing quite a bit of stuff, you know, after his musical career, if you want to call it. You know, he's been into this sound recording engineering for quite some time.
Yeah, well, I guess that's still part of a musical career, though, isn't it?
It is. I'm just thinking, I'm talking about the performing end of it.
Right. But Ray, it was good talking with Ray Vanda and finding out about Christian Friday and Falcon Eddy and what he's been doing now with the studio. And he's been keeping going. So
he's got quite a talented family, too.
Yes, he does.
Sons that are musicians. His daughter's a singer out in L.A.
Right. That's very cool.
Something to be very proud of.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you very much. And don't forget to check out the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66. Check out their website, roadtorock.org. And while you're there, sign up for a charter membership. You'll love it.
Yes, indeed, you will. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for checking in.
The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast does not own the rights to any of the music that's played on this podcast.
The music is used to promote the band or musicians that are interviewed.
Rock and roll Chicago.